Ms. Jersky here again for our day 2 of Virtual Northside, going through that 2nd grade packet, day 2. I hope these are beneficial to you, whether you're watching this video as you go through the packet or completing the packet on your own or with a parent and then going back and checking it, whichever works best for you. We're just here to support you as best we can right now. So again, remember for this morning work section, we're going back to the sheet that we started yesterday. You're just moving on to Tuesday and day 2. So that same sheet. All right, so let's get to it. Now yesterday we read about Brandy, who's a 2nd grader that lives in Nebraska in the Midwest, was born in Alaska. So this is a continuation of that same story. It says that the Midwest is a very fertile part of the United States. This means that the Midwest is a place where it's easy to grow plants. So we're going to be talking about context clues a good bit today, and that's exactly what we're about to use. Number 1 is asking us about the word fertile. So I see back in my text that it says the Midwest is a very fertile part of the United States, but that sentence itself doesn't really explain to me what the word fertile means. It just says it's a fertile part of the land. Well, okay, I still don't know what that means. So by reading the next bit of text after that, I see this means that the Midwest is a place where it's easy to grow plants. So by reading on, using our context clues, the different text around us, we can figure out what these unknown words mean. What does the word fertile mean? Fertile means a place where it is easy to grow plants. And we've highlighted our text evidence up here to support our answer. So good. Number 2 is asking us to circle the word that has almost the same meaning as the underlined word. Dylan was glum because he could not go to the party. So if you are think about if you're so excited, you got a birthday party invitation, you know it's coming up on Saturday, you've been waiting for it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then all of a sudden you find out you can't go. You probably don't feel chewy or happy. I don't even know what that means to feel chewy. I probably don't feel chewy or happy. You probably feel sad. All right, number 3 is asking, why is the Midwest an easy place to grow crops? Why is it an easy place to grow crops? We're going to the only evidence we really have to go back from is just that they told us it's a very fertile part of the United States. So, why is the Midwest easy place to grow crops? Because it is a fertile part of the, I'm going to abbreviate because I ran out of room. It's a fertile part of the USA. Again, that keyword fertile there. All right, last one is asking us about the underlined word discover. I want to discover a new park. So we're going to need to know this word discover, and this word right here, new, is also going to be helpful for us. If it's a new park I'm discovering, it's probably not going to be my favorite park I'm already familiar with. It could be a park we find for the first time. And the ability to do work, that one really doesn't make very much sense to me, the ability to do work. So the best meaning for the underlying word discover is something you find for the first time. Kind of makes me think of like Christopher Columbus and Lewis and Clark, these explorers who discovered things for the first time. All right, so just flip that page over to the math side to go over. And first we're looking at how tall is the ice cream cone. This is almost exactly what we went over yesterday. And looking here, I see that they are using a centimeter ruler. So they did a great job lining up their ruler at 0. I'm sure you did too, right? And then all the way up to the top, I see my ice cream cone ends at 7. And make sure we put that cm so we know centimeters is the unit of measurement we're working with. All right, let's look at the base 10 blocks now and write the number that is shown. Now, with base 10 blocks, we know that these big flats are called hundreds flats. So something I like to do, because believe it or not, get a little scatterbrained, I like to write down the unit, the value of each of these units. So I know a hundreds flat the value is 100. And on the second one, the hundreds flat, again, the value is 100. Okay, now I've got these other ones which are called tens rods. So I know each of these is going to be 10. And then I've got my ones cubes that are each going to be 1. Now, there are multiple ways that you might add this up. If you are a super mental math magician and you can just add on as you go, that's awesome. As long as we get the same answer, however way is best for you that your teacher prefers, do that. I'm going to add up each unit here and add those numbers together. So if I add my 200s flats together, I get 200. And then if I add up my 5 tens rods, I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then my 4 ones, I've got 4. Remember yesterday how we said we always, always, always start with our 1s. So let me catch you adding the 100s, then the 10s and the 1s. So 0 plus 0 plus 4, of course, gives us 4. 0 plus 5 gives us 5. 2 plus nothing is 2. So 254 is the total value of these base 10 blocks. And again, any way you got that, cool with me. All right, Tristan has $2.71 in his pocket. They're asking you to draw one way to show the money that he has. Now, there are tons of different ways for you to have written this down. I'm going to do one way that I've thought of, but again, this is definitely not the only way you could have done this. You could have done all coins. You could have done coins and dollar bills. Just double check and make sure that what you did adds up to $2.71. Okay? Maybe have someone else check you, recount it out to someone else. You might actually have coins and dollar bills at home where you could actually show this rather than drawing it. So $2, and then I'm going to do 2 quarters, 2 dimes, and 1 penny. If you did it my way, you rock. Just kidding, it's fine. However way you did it. So I did 2 $1 bills to give me $2, and then to show 71 cents, I did 25, 25, which is 50, plus 10 is 60, plus 10 is 70, plus 1 is 71. And again, multiple ways you could have done that. All right, now know what's coming. Stacking and solving. Uh-oh. Now, yesterday they made the subtractions super easy, and today they're testing you to make sure you remember these rules for regrouping and subtracting. So remember, we always, always, always start with our 1s, which this is our 1s placed here. And I've got 2 minus 7. Now, if you were in my class right now, I would ask you, what's 2 minus 7? And if you put 5, no, no, no. You cannot do 7 minus 2. You have to do top number minus the bottom number. And my friends would say, you can't do that. You can't do 2 minus 7. If I only have 2 markers, I can't give you 7. I don't have enough. I've got more on floor, more on the bottom, so I've got to go next door to that 1, and I've got to take 1 away. Go next door and get 10 more. So that 1 becomes a 0, and this 2 becomes a 12. All right, now let's deal with our 1s before we go on to our 10s and 100s. 12 minus 7 is 5. Okay, move on to the 10s now. I've got 0 minus 8. If I have 0 M&Ms, I cannot give you 8. I don't have any. I've got more on floor, so again, I've got to go next door and get 10 more. So my 4 is going to become a 3, making my 0 become a 10. I took a 10 from the 4, which is technically 100, not a 10, and I gave it to the 0, making it 10. Stuck that 1 in front of there. So 10 minus 8, now I can do this. I have more on top. 10 minus 8 is 2, and 3 minus 3 is 0. So my answer is 25. That was tricky for you. These are easy problems to practice at home. Draw some with the bigger numbers on the bottom than the top. Super easy to practice. Just do them over and over and over again. Again, like I said yesterday, if at any time you find, Miss Jersey, you talk too fast, please pause me. Take your time. Go through this. This is really important. All right, so the next thing, we're going to kind of piggyback off of the beginning of this morning work today where we talked about context clues. And again, just like yesterday, I'm following step by step day 2's packet directions. So after we did the morning work, we're going to go on to this Out in the Woods comprehension pack where we're working on context clues. A couple books that I really like to use for context clues are Fancy Nancy. Sorry if you don't like Fancy Nancy. I think she's great. But she uses a lot of big, fancy, sometimes French words, but has great examples of context clues in it because she always explains what they mean. And so you can read on to figure out what those words mean using the context. So again, like I said in the morning work portion, context clues are bits of text either before or after the sentence with the unknown word that we can use clues for to figure out what the unknown word means. So I'm not going to reread this whole thing to you, but just like yesterday with the different colored parts, if you don't have these different colors, it's totally fine. Not a big deal. We're just working on going back in the story and using context clues to solve the unknown words. So for the orange one, number 1, it's asking us to find what does the word decay mean. I'm going to underline that in word. What does the word decay mean in the story? Okay, and actually, just real quick, I'm going to make sure we're still recording. Yes. Yay. We're doing great. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the word decay back in my story. They were nice on this one, and they italicized or slanted the keywords. So here it is right here. So I found my unknown word. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reread the sentence holding my unknown word. And I'm going to see if that sentence can help me. Let's see. Ready? By the amount of decay, they all agreed that the tree must have been there for years. Okay, helped me a little bit. The tree must have been there for years. So let's keep reading in the next sentence and see if we can get a little bit more clues. I know based on what I've read in this sentence, if it's been there for years, it's not new. It's probably a little bit older, but let's keep reading and see if we get more ones, okay? So here's the next sentence. It says, parts of it were broken down to sawdust. Oh, okay, I've got a little bit more to work with now. I know it's been there for years. I know that means it must be old. I know parts of it were broken down, meaning the tree wasn't big and strong. It was dusty and old. So let's look at our 3 choices. I've got A to be strong, B to break down and rot, or C to be new. Well, I can infer that because the tree was broken down, that means it wasn't strong. So I'm going to slash and trash that answer choice. Now let's look at B. B says to break down and rot. I see right here I've got those same keywords, broken down. I don't see the word rot, but I do match up broken down, and if it's gone from a big sturdy tree to sawdust, that probably does mean that it has rotted. So I'm going to put a question mark. I'm not going to slash and trash that one. I'm going to keep that one because I think that might be right, but we have to read all our choices, right? I know you did that. I know you did that already. And C says to be new. Well, I already read in the first sentence that they agreed that the tree must have been there for years. If a tree has been there for years, it is not new. It is old. So I can slash and trash that one, and I know my answer is B. Okay? All right, I'm going to switch to my blue marker now. And let's figure out what the word elegant means. I'm going to underline that so I know that's the word I'm focusing on. And I see that they've italicized this word in the second paragraph. Got it right here. And again, I'm going to start with the sentence that contains my mystery word and then go from there. So it says, we didn't know you were so elegant, said her friend Carson. Okay, so all we know from this sentence is that they're describing someone as elegant. We still don't know what that means, but we know that it's an adjective describing someone. Let's go to the next sentence and see what we find. Everyone laughed. Well, everyone laughed doesn't really give me any clues like when I read on with decay. So instead of going to the sentences after the word, let's go to the sentences before the word. Ready? It says, she twirled and bowed to her friends. Well, I'm going to go up one more sentence because I want to know who she is. Anna took one of the flowers and put it in her hair. Okay, so now I've got this picture in my head of a girl. She's got a beautiful flower in her hair. She's twirling. She's bowing to her friends. Now I kind of know what the word elegant means. To me, it sounds a little fancy, like she's kind of a little fancy. Kind of going back to Fancy Nancy like I was talking about. So let's look at our three choices here. A says to be rude. Now, I don't have any evidence in here of, so it's Anna is the girl who we're describing as elegant. I don't have any evidence of her being rude. I don't think twirling and bowing with a flower in her hair makes her rude. So let's slash and trash that one. B says to be clumsy. Well, she twirled and she bowed to her friends, but it doesn't say anything about being clumsy because I know clumsy means that you kind of fall and you're all over the place. So I don't think clumsy is the best choice here either. So let's check C. C says that you are graceful and well-mannered. You would describe someone who's able to twirl like a ballerina and bow as being very graceful, having nice manners. So we can definitely agree that Anna being elegant means she's graceful and well-mannered. All right, now remember yesterday I didn't have a yellow marker, so that's okay. I'm just gonna use my pink again. And we're looking for the word frail. Looking for the word frail in the story. This is gonna be in the third paragraph, and it's actually the very last word in the whole story, frail. Let's start with the sentence that contains the word. And it says, wow, said Anna. We didn't realize you were so frail. So they're describing someone, just like we described someone as elegant, they're describing someone now as frail. So let's go to the sentence right before, because we have no sentences afterwards to give us context. So let's go to the sentence right before. Ben tried to pick one of them up to take home, but he couldn't make it budge. Okay, so I've got my person being described, Ben. I know he's trying to pick something up, but he couldn't make it budge. He couldn't make it move, but I have no idea what he's trying to pick up based on that sentence. Let's go back one more. Inside the rocks were different colored crystals. Okay, now the rocks up here are being described as large boulders. So large boulders with different colored crystals inside. So I have this picture now of this person, Ben, trying to lift up this big boulder and it would not budge at all. So if he's trying to lift something really heavy and it won't move, his friends are describing him as frail because of that. So if he is frail, it could mean, A, that he's very weak and breakable. I don't know that I would describe a person as breakable, but very weak does fit in this one. So let's keep that one just in case. All right, B says sturdy. We didn't realize you were so frail. If Ben was sturdy and strong, he probably would have been able to make it budge. So I don't think sturdy is the best one here. And then C says that he was being very sick. Now, Ben might have been sick. That might have been a reason why he couldn't lift the boulder, but I have no evidence of that in my story, so I cannot pick that one. So that's not the best choice. So here, frail means very weak and breakable. All right, I hope that you did learn some new words in this story, and I hope you listed some of those down here and what they meant. But while I'm getting this erased for us, I failed to tell you something yesterday about Study Island. If you are logging into Study Island at home, which you should be because you've got assignments on there, when you go to the Study Island page, which is also on that QR code sheet that we sent home with the online resources, there's a code for Math and ELA, it's the same website though. You're going to make sure that you're logging in Study Island for schools. I know it seems like you would want to click Study Island for home because you're at home, but our Study Island accounts are school accounts. So make sure you're clicking Study Island for school to log in if you're having trouble with that. And today you're going to complete Study Island ELA Day 2. This is the same pictures I had from Day 1, so you can't see Day 2, but it should be in the same spot. Okay? Study Island ELA Day 2. So going through our direction sheet, we have completed morning work. We've done our comprehension, context clue practice. We've talked about Study Island Day 2. So next you can get out this math sheet. And again, we're going to be going over a little bit of measurement. So I'm going to put these fast facts up real quick. All right, so again, subtracting something we should be getting pretty quickly. So this first column is 11, 8, and 3. Then 11, 6, and 6. And then 10, 8, and 4. So check those out real quick. And remember the advice I gave you guys yesterday. Measuring objects can sometimes be a little tricky because it's hard to see exactly where the object begins and ends. I hope some of you are taking my advice and drawing. Whoa, I drew only on my ruler. I hope some of you are taking my advice and drawing that line where it starts and a line where it ends and then measuring from line to line. Doing that is going to be way easier to measure these objects that aren't as easy as lines. And again, we are using inches, and our directions today is to say to measure to the nearest inch. So we might not be exactly on that inch, kind of like yesterday, but it is asking us to measure to the nearest inch. This worm was pretty spot on 2 inches. And then if you drew those lines from one end of the snake to the other, he was a little bit past 4. But 4 was definitely the nearest inch. He was much closer to 4 than he was to 5. And then the pencil was pretty spot on 6 inches. Now, if you're seeing on your paper, what in the world, Ms. Jersky, I'm getting like 1 or 3, or I'm getting 3 or 5, or 5 or 7, like you're 1 below or 1 above, make sure you're measuring at the 0. Make sure you're lined up at the 0. Because if not, your measurement's going to be off a little bit. So make sure you're lining up at the 0 like we talked about yesterday. The string of lights is pretty close to right at 3. And then this car was a little bit past 7, but 7 was definitely the nearest inch. So I'll give you just a second to make sure we've got those correct. And the questions that we're going to go over next match with those measurements that we just did. So if your measurements were not correct on these, change them, because your answers on here are probably not going to be correct too, especially when we do the difference and the altogether ones at the bottom. All right, so the item that was the longest, of course, was the 7-inch car. So on this first line, we should have car. On the second line, it's asking us which item was the shortest. I don't exactly know what that little fella is at the top, but I'm just going to call him a caterpillar. You put worm, whichever. He's cute. Cute friend if you want to put that. All right, we've got the caterpillar. And then the third question is asking us what is the difference. Ooh, that is a really important word. What is the difference between the longest and the shortest item? Difference. When I think of the word difference, I know that that key word means I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to write the word subtract here at the top so I don't forget when it's time to actually do my operation. Now, for subtracting, I've got to figure out the longest and the shortest measurements. And I already said the longest one was the car, which was 7. And the shortest was the worm, or the caterpillar, which was 2, right? Yep, 2. Okay, So subtraction. We sing a little song in my room that says subtraction, it's not the worst. The bigger number always comes first. So my bigger number is 7. So I'm going to solve 7 minus 2, which is 5. So the difference, make sure we put that inches for unit of measurement. The difference between the longest and the shortest is 5. And then the last one, oh, it was a caterpillar, I was right. The last one is asking us for the length of the caterpillar, the pencil, and the snake, keyword here, all together. So all together means that we're going to be adding. All right, so I'm going to go through under each of these items and write how long each of them were, and then I'll add those all together. So again, my caterpillar was only 2, plus my pencil, which was 6, plus my snake, which was, ugh, gross, snakes, 4. Okay, using what I know about adding and making 10s from earlier this year, I know that I can add 6 plus 4 to make a 10. And then drop that 2 down. 2 plus 10 is 12. So altogether, those lengths are 12 inches. Don't forget to put that unit of measurement. If you only put 5 or you only put 12 on those last two, make sure you go back and change that, okay? So this was practice with lesson 15. This was lesson 15 work today for module 7. So the next thing to do if we're going on our sheet is to get on Zearn and do the lesson 15 practice. So after you complete lesson 15's practice, you will unlock lesson 16. So once it has the little lock opened up and says, you've unlocked lesson 16, stop. Because lesson 16 is what we're going to do tomorrow. All right, and then the very last thing for today is back on that study island, you're going to be doing math day 2. So just like you did ELA day 2 earlier, you'll do math day 2. Remember, you're logging in study island for school. Should be first initial, last initial, 3 numbers is your username, password, go arrows. Of course, if you don't know that or need any other assistance, help, have any questions, please email your teachers. We're here to help you as best we can. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.